Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, and right over there is John, your resident millennial. I, of course, am your resident Gen Xer, forming the inevitable gap in my memory and in my intro. And
Yeah, you guys don't have to excuse Robert this episode
look,
because
I'm
he's
not
kind
saying
of
I'm not saying marijuana is legal everywhere. I'm just saying it exists.
it does exist. That
It
is the
does
correct
exist.
statement to
It
make.
is a real thing.
I was just going to
Uh,
say that you're handicapped tonight, but I mean,
no, no, we don't want to. You can't say things like that. You can't say anything like that. As soon as somebody fact checks,
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I just said you're handicapped. That's it.
yeah.
It's just tonight.
But that's
Hey, Wyatt.
you can't.
Wyatt's in the chat.
That's going to be the
What's up,
next
bro?
word. Good to see you tonight, Wyatt. Hey, for all you folks out there joining us, lurking in the shadows, make sure and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, do all those things that make us happy, gives us these. Yeah, no, John. I mean, think about it. You won't be able to use handicapped eventually, because it's going to be a word that's going to turn into one like uh,
A slur,
the re word,
like Crippy Boy.
the ret word. Uh,
Oh, retarded,
because
right?
you can't say like this flange is retarded in how it's work. You can't use the word in its natural form because
Hmm.
now it's become a slur, and you know, and handicap is going to be the same thing because then they'll say, oh, you're just replacing the one word with the other. So you calling me handicapped, it's a bad thing. Or it will be. Good to see you this evening, Ed.
That
Oh,
word is
by the
not
way,
okay.
Ed, I did see your message. I'm sorry on Discord. I meant to answer you back, but I will get back with
Wow,
you
wow,
because because I will be available, of course, for your stream. It will just be
dickhead.
it will be later in the evening because I'll be coming back in from out of town that day.
You're a dickhead.
Yeah.
Also, Ed. Speaking of gentlemen, um, where has RRC been lately? I actually just noticed today that I haven't seen his stuff in my timeline on YouTube. I haven't. I'm not subscribed to him anymore, and his channel has like 110 subscribers, and his last video was like 2 months ago. What's going on with RRC, man? I
Good to
haven't seen him in forever.
good to see you this evening, Quest. Nice to see you.
Oh, Quest Fanny, what's up, man? Quest has been nice enough to have been tweeting out our our show or the link to our episodes.
Sweet.
So
I
yeah,
like
thank you
that.
for that, man. That's awesome.
You get these. You get
Yeah,
these.
you get two thumbs up, but not
Uh,
not three, not four. No, not yet.
uh,
You can get there though. You're getting there.
don't worry, John always holds back.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I was going to say, Ed has something going on. Let's throw a shout out to
Yeah.
Ed next weekend.
Yes.
John, do you remember
Yes.
what it is?
Yes. Next weekend. Next Saturday. I believe all day. 24 hours. He is doing
That is
a
all day.
charity event. He's doing a charity event for suicide awareness or something, suicide prevention. Um, which is awesome. It's a cause very near and dear to my heart. I've been personally affected by that. So not prevention, but the failure to prevent. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's something that means something to me. So I hope you guys will be there. It'll be on Jay Edgar's channel. We'll be sure to link to it in our Discord, on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. As we get closer to it. But yeah, I hope you guys can join us there. Give some money to probably one of the most worthy causes out there. So yeah, make sure you're there because there's gonna be some cool guests, including yours truly, especially yours truly. I should say. I think I'm gonna be the keynote speaker. I believe is how it works. I'm gonna be all VIP and stuff. Most important guest.
Um,
And yeah, there you have it.
so the and again the charity again is John.
Hmm?
You said the charity again is
Oh, I forget what the actual charity is. I know it's suicide prevention,
right. Okay.
but I don't know what the actual charity is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then midnight to midnight Central Time. So what is that? 1 a.m. to 1 a.m. normal time.
Yeah.
In
in
human
normal time,
time.
in human time.
Yeah. Ed's saying he's on every night, Monday through Thursday and Saturday for the call-in show. Is he on? Is he not on YouTube? Is he just on D Live, or what's the deal with that? I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a lot. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I have mixed feelings about the the whole suicide thing. I mean, I understand. I
Oh, I'll
understand.
go into that too. Yeah.
But and my perspective on suicide and not necessarily the prevention of suicide, but suicide
No, of course.
itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it is I feel it's a little bit unique, but it's because I contemplate suicide a lot,
Backup channel. Mm.
and yet I constantly, you know, I always tell myself that that's just the easy way out. It's a coward's way out.
100%.
Right, right.
100% it is. Yeah.
So I take on a negative attitude towards suicide when I see it in the media.
Yeah.
Right, this, that, or the other happened with suicide. The suicide rate, this up and down. COVID is an exception to the rule because it is this whole last year plus has created this pot, a boiling pot for something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I'm a mixed bag when it comes to thinking about it, talking about it. Like I said, it's because I contemplate doing that thing so often throughout my life that it's just become run of the mill to downgrade it, degrade myself for going down that path. What the fuck are you thinking?
Sure.
You're a fucking idiot. You're a coward. Don't
Mm-hmm.
this is just fucking get up and just go, and just fucking do, suck it up. So it's like but it's
Yeah.
I
I'm
feel
gonna.
horrible when something happens, right?
Right. Well,
It's
see, I'm gonna save my you know, my thoughts for Ed's show. So I
right.
have, I can go full on there and not blow my load here
Yeah. Well,
prematurely, as it were.
no,
Right.
it's I can understand that. I'm not blowing my whole load here. I mean, I could go down a rabbit hole talking about it, right?
Yeah.
It's it's one of those things, and that's the other thing is like whew, I never want people to see that as an option. So, you know, if there's ways
Right.
around that, if there are ways to prevent it, where they can reach out, where they can get somebody to talk to, God help them. If they believe in God, I guess. If they don't, then
I mean, it probably helps. To be
I'll help
honest,
them. Whatever it takes.
Krishna, whatever your deal is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about the rest of the world doing me in
Right.
anymore, right? It's like crazy. Uh,
See, with
what,
me, it's my own body. I'm worried about doing me in, man. At least I can defend myself from the rest of the world. It's hard to defend yourself from yourself.
as Quest Fanny's going to be on there.
Nice.
Going to be on
Hell yeah.
suicide prevention. Yeah, I'm going to be coming back from out of town. We got to go hunt for a house that weekend.
Yeah, man.
Which probably means that I won't be available for the show next Friday either.
Next Friday. Okay.
Yeah, a week
So
from
we'll.
tonight. So I won't be available. So if if you've got somebody out there that wants to co-host with you,
Oh, I know somebody who happens to. I know somebody who might do it. Ed, I'm looking at you. Looking at you, Ed. But failing that, I'll just play a video game or something and talk about the news. That'll be fun.
yeah, Wyatt agrees the numbers of suicide
Yeah.
after COVID are going to be scary. Lockdown deaths will be very
I get
intentfully
it.
obfuscated. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Um, the that's there's a lot going on with with the media right now. Just wow, it's not even like you know mincing words in trying to blatantly just obfuscate shit. It feeds you narrative now. I mean, since Biden has come into office and Trump has left, now it's just like, ooh, You know?
Well, because you don't have that punching bag anymore, right? You can't be like, Trump, he's bad, he sucked. You don't have the lightning
Right.
rod drawing all the criticism. Now it's
Right.
kind of like, oh no, maybe the world just kind of
Right.
sucks, and it's not just one guy's fault. Oh no,
Yeah, and
you know?
they're just getting to report on the train that's barreling down the track.
Right.
It's interesting watching it. Here's something interesting. I
Oh,
want to.
that's true, Ed. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right, dude. My bad.
What's that,
He's helping us out next Friday because he's gonna be doing his 24 hours like shortly after our episode's done next
dude?
weekend.
Dude, man up,
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right, Ed. You're off the hook, dude.
dude.
You're off the hook.
Step up.
No, no, you're off the
You can
hook.
you can catch yourself an hour nap before you have to go on for 24
Slam
hours.
like 17 Red
Right?
Bulls.
You
You'll
know
be all
what?
right.
John will even be nice. He'll cut the show to an hour that night, so you can get in a
You
2 hour
can
nap before your 24-hour stream. You
start
know
doing a
what?
couple of bumps,
Right?
before you go on. You'll be all
Let's
right.
not promote
You'll
that.
get through
Thank you.
it. What? I'm talking about, nasal spray. What are you talking
Right.
about?
Uh,
Clear
so
those sinuses up.
speaking of Central America, thank you for the
Good
segue.
segue.
So this is interesting. So our administration is currently considering stemming or stopping the flow of migration from Central America by just dumping them some money, just handing them a bunch of money, and say, here, take this money, here, give this to people, and they'll stop coming up here.
That is retarded. I'm
Right?
sorry, you're right. I can't see that anymore. That idea has an extra chromosome. All
Right?
right, I'll just say that instead.
So yeah, they're
'Cause those people are not going to get that money. You think that money's leaving the top? No, that money's
uh,
staying up there.
I don't, and yeah, I'm like, okay, so you're just gonna print them off some of our money? You're just gonna print them off some money you could be printing off for Americans? I mean,
Oh,
if you're
they've
gonna
been doing
print
that,
money,
yeah.
right? No, I'm just saying,
Right,
if you're gonna print money, you're gonna hand it
yeah,
to
exactly.
to stop them from coming up here to get some of the free money you're handing out.
Yeah, exactly. Bruh. There's some serious mindfuckery right there. It's because they're using it to like pay off people. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're using it to pay off, like, I guess probably paying them to stop people from coming rather than saying, hey, give this money to your people. That's what they're saying, but they're doing it like a wink. Like, hey, take this money, stop your people from coming. Come on, man. It's a bribe, basically. Like, come on, stop these people. They're like, all right.
Yeah, the
Quest. Making fun of you.
who is?
Quest is. He said, "We see Robert's mouth as often as Bigfoot. That is the biggest mic screen ever. Yeah, it's the biggest pop filter ever.
I will. I will. I will not give a shit.
Complete the fifth. It's all right. Yeah, that's funny.
It serves its purpose. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. So
Yeah, remember we made fun of you for being what's that guy from
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson over the fence.
Wilson. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say if it was done right, like if the money was actually going into the hands of the people, and then of course you send enough military down there to make sure that the government or shady forces didn't come in and just take the money from the people, like they've been doing already, right? The Maduro diet, that was fun. But
yeah.
anyway, it's like, there's so much involved with that, right? You're not just going to be able to print up some money and hand it off to Central America
You want to bet?
and say, here, give it to these people without sending somebody there to enforce the giving out of that
Oh,
money.
watch them do it. Watch them do it. They love doing that.
Do you think we're going to send, you don't think they would send troops?
No, they're not sending. No, they're
That's
not
the
sending
only way
troops. They're
you
not
can
sending anybody.
enforce it.
They're
You
not
got
sending
to.
anybody.
Well, if you can't enforce it, if you don't send somebody, because
They're not. They
otherwise you're
don't care
just.
about it. It's not about enforcing it.
So,
It's not
so
about
we're just
enforcing
we're
it.
just going to throw some money down a hole and hope
Yes,
that hole
Robert.
plugs up.
Who are we talking about?
Okay. All
We're
right,
talking about the
gotcha.
U.S. government.
I just wanted to make
Throwing,
sure that in 2021 we're still in that at that point in our diplomacy. Uh,
and they're roasting you, dude.
yeah.
That's funny.
You know what? I can live with it. I can take it. I don't mind.
It's all right, Robert. You just wait till after the show to cry. It's okay, buddy.
Hey, you know what? You know what? It'll be all right. You know what? I think I'll just sedate myself. It'll be all right. But
Yeah, that's fair enough.
so however, it's an interesting approach to slowing down people coming into the country, and I'm like, well, why haven't we done this with Mexico? Because that was always the biggest problem, and you're putting up a border wall.
Because it's not necessarily Mexicans that are coming in. Like, a lot of them are, but
Sure.
I mean, it's everyone from Central and South America that are coming through Mexico. Obviously, they have to go through Mexico, right? Like, as long as they're not taking some kind of ship around or something. But they're most of the time they're going on land through Mexico, so they're not necessarily Mexican citizens coming through.
I mean, in March alone, they're saying that they roughly 168,000 people picked up by U.S. Border Patrol at the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are there that many people just flooding into America? Good God. So for 168,000 that they pick up, how many people actually make it into the country and are adding to the best I can say is the mouths on the teat, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't this how long is this sustainable? I'm just saying, how long?
I think we're past the point of no return, basically, where it's just a matter of time.
Ron Helton is here tonight. Good to see you, Ron. And he says the majority he heard recently are from Guatemala, then Honduras. Yeah, and I mean, look, it doesn't matter to me where they're coming from. I don't care if they're coming up through the U.S.-Mexican border. I don't care if they're coming across the Canadian border. I'm still of a mind of fuck off. We're full. Yeah. I still have that mindset in my head when it comes to people coming to this country. We're full. Our plate runneth fucking over. and it is sad that we see some moral imperative to keeping those gates open.
Like, listen, I would very much love to be an open borders libertarian. I would love that, because it is within the principles of libertarianism to not restrict movement of anyone. But at the same time, we're not in a libertarian society. We can't do that.
No,
right?
We're not.
We have fiat currency, which is quickly losing its value. And then we're supposed to give that to people. Just give it to them. I don't know. There's a lot of really good reasons why we can't have an open border in this current society. So let's change society first. Then we can talk about opening up the border. Let's do that. Let's actually have our money backed on something first.
I mean, it's so odd to think that we are such a large country.
I don't know about that, Quest. The EU, as an entirety, feels that way as well.
Well, the EU, but there's a reason for that. I think there's more a financial reason for that, for their open border approach. I could see it being financial, I should say.
Well, I mean, about how are they making money? What do you mean?
Well, you want free movement between the countries for tourists,
No,
et cetera,
yes,
right?
yeah. No, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about they're taking in millions of refugees from Syria
Oh,
and
that. Well,
not even just refugees, because like you can make an argument for refugees, right? But like just economic migrants, as they're called, which basically they're just like poor people who don't want to be where they are anymore, and they take
well,
they start walking and they make it to
in defense of that though, in defense of those countries involved in the EU, those countries aren't necessarily happy about it happening, but it's the will of the EU itself that is empowering
well,
that.
right, but the countries do it either way. They pledge to take in however many per year, right? Like that's like they say, okay,
Right,
well we'll
right.
take this many,
They
we have
cut
to take
to
that
it,
many.
right?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, they cut to
Right.
it. Yeah, yeah.
They haven't performed a mass
That's a
exit.
large that's a large reason why Brexit happened. Had to do with that, and to do what they had all kinds of pressure to take in more and more migrants, and they're like, no, we have way too many.
Hmm.
I mean, they're an island. Like, yeah, they're a huge island, but they're an island nonetheless. Like, they don't have infinite land,
Sure.
to be given out to people.
Understandable, but neither did the European countries either. I mean, when you think about the populations, for instance, here in America with Central America,
It's true. I wonder why, Quest. That's true. Quest making a good point that EU member countries all try to shirk their share.
right?
That's true. They do. But so like yeah, the EU as an organization does, but the certain member states they try and push them west into
Sure.
like France, and then France tries to push them onto England,
Of
and England's
course,
like, no, fuck off, like
right?
you know.
Because
Um, Same thing with
because
Ireland. They push them into Ireland. It's the
nobody
same.
truly wants it, and
Hmm.
and even the
But they'll tell
United
you how
States,
much they want it.
we
They'll
have
tell you all about it.
it's not like we don't have the territory, right? I mean, we're one of the largest
Fuck
countries
off.
in the world, right? From a mass land mass
Yeah, from a
standpoint, right?
geographical standpoint,
Right.
yes, yeah, yeah.
But that doesn't take our
Square
problems,
footage.
right?
Yeah.
Some of the problems we have, like, you know, you would think that mass land mass would help with that, like food, and why do we have people starving in this country, right? And why are we importing so much food,
Well, it
and why are
does.
we doing this and utilizing more of this, and
Well, I'll
you
tell
know
you why we
and
do
it's
that.
and it's
We
like
import
we're
we
fucking
import
crazy.
food we import food as a like trade deal. So there'll be something that goes into trade deal like, hey, we're trying to get rid of this food. Can you take some of it? All right, yeah, sure. But in exchange, we're going to give you this, and you're going to pay this much for it. And we'll give you a deal on this kind of food, so it's actually cheaper to import it than it would be to grow it in America. Like, there's a bunch of reasons why we
Sure.
would import
And
food, but we don't need to.
all
Technically,
you would have to do is take some pruning shears to the bureaucracy surrounding owning an agricultural business in this country,
yeah.
and then a little more pruning on interstate commerce to make it affordable to ship it between states, and to make it also balance out and make it affordable to sell it within your own state at the same fair price, because that's the insanity to me, that it's
Hmm.
cheaper to get a Florida orange in California and vice versa than the other, right? I mean, we get California oranges here, and we go through a lot of those.
Yeah.
You see Florida oranges here after the season, the all the orange juice
Right. Well, they're going to get a
factories and
better price
everything
out
have
of
been
state,
fed,
right? I
right?
mean,
Well,
they're
they're
going to get a
sending
better price out of state.
most of their stuff grown here in Florida is going to juice manufacturers,
Yeah.
because what do they want? Real Florida orange juice,
Hell yeah.
right?
Tropicana and whatnot. Yeah.
So it's but the bureaucracies that are in place, it was I talked to you, I mentioned something previously on another episode about Bill Maher and how he
Hmm.
wanted to just get solar paneling. Like, this is California, right? He wanted
Hmm.
solar paneling, and it took 1131, I think 1131 days
Oh my
to get
god.
the solar paneling approved. He had to build a 3x3 shed over like the controls and stuff like this for
Oh
this.
my god.
And that shed alone took up the bulk of the time for permitting and getting this, that, and the other and inspected. There were 15 or so people involved in the process from a too many chiefs standpoint.
Right.
1,131 days to get solar power in a state that is demanding green initiative
Yeah.
from people because their
Hmm.
bureaucracy is so deep. And
Hmm.
that's the same thing that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, this is one of those things that I'm glad my wife, and I decided to try and find property here in Florida as opposed to going up in the mountains like we had talked about, is because I see DeSantis
Yeah.
as a guy who wants to minimize regulation,
Yes. It
right?
does seem that way. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this with, much hesitation being so early. But if the man made a play for Washington and stood on a platform of taking some pruning shears to some of the regulation, the bureaucracy in Washington,
Mm-hmm.
that would have a trickle down effect,
Dude.
I would be, hey, let's go
God damn
Ron
it.
DeSantis.
So I'm actually remember how I was like staunchly after the last election. I was staunchly against like ever voting again. I was just
Right.
like, I'm not gonna do it. I might have to just vote for local and state, especially if just because I want DeSantis to win again, to be
Right.
governor again in 2022. So I might have to actually, suck it up and vote local and state. Even though obviously he's going to lose because they're going to find 400,000 ballots in the middle of the night on election night. But, at least I can throw mine in there and hopefully mine won't get thrown out. Who knows?
Well, I do it's interesting because I look at DeSantis and I draw what would not his parallel, but I see Cuomo as his polar opposite in a way,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
That's true. Yeah,
So,
I can
but
see that.
what did Cuomo have going on? What was just happening, right? All this allegations
Hmm.
against
Hmm.
Cuomo, people saying Cuomo stepped down, and then with one fell swoop, haven't heard anything for a few days because he changed the
DeSantis.
fucking narrative.
Yep.
Cuomo said, "Oh, I'll just legalize pot." Boom.
Hmm.
And that's the only thing you've heard about New York in the
Yeah.
last week or so.
Yep.
It's like,
Got it.
boom, there's your distraction. You got videos of people standing on the street in front of a cop smoking a dope because you can walk down the street smoking pot now in New York.
What? You can't do that in a lot of places, a lot of
You
states,
can't
even
do
like
it
legal
within a
ones.
you can't do it within a certain distance of a school where
Fair.
kids are, and
Fair.
you can't do it in any place where smoking is prohibited. So
Right.
whether it be a park, et cetera, et cetera. But if
Dude,
you're walking down the street where you could be smoking a cigarette, you can be
yeah.
smoking a dope.
Did you know in Chicago, you can't smoke a cigarette within 15 feet of a doorway? So think about being downtown Chicago, like in the suburb or whatever. That's easy. But if you're like in downtown where there's skyscrapers and there's a door every 15 fucking feet, you
Right.
can't smoke in this. Like it's not enforced because I did it
Right.
the whole time I was smoking at the time that I went up there, and there was no problem. Like I just smoked anyway. But like that, I mean, I could have been taken up on some kind of. I could have been fined or some shit. But
Well, see,
that
and
shit was
that's
insane to me.
and Quest makes a good point. I'm assuming you're up in New York. People were smoking pot all over the place here already. It's kind of it is kind
It's
of
yeah,
interesting that it is one of the smells that's like when you walk down this,
Bourbon
downtown
Street
New
is like
York
that.
and all that. It's yes, Bourbon Street is very similar. It's just one of the underlying smells. It's like there might, you
It's just
smell
in the
the,
air.
whatever it might be, right? But there's
Yeah.
those specific smells that make up the smell of the city, and one of them just happens to be weed,
Right.
right? It's part of the Dr Pepper that is the city smell of New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Bourbon
is
Street
it
smelled like
23
weed and
flavors?
horse shit. Those are the two smells that
Well,
were
it depends.
the most overpowering.
When was this that you went though?
This would have been like September of
Right.
2019.
Go shortly after
Oh,
Mardi
Mardi
Gras,
Gras? Yeah, it's
and
gonna be
it will
vomit
and
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 beer.
you will smell beer, vomit.
Sure.
Uh, it's and it's like, wow, you would think they would have cleaned this up already, and they have. That's the
Right.
right. They have, right.
Yep.
But it really smells great, like, the month or two before Mardi Gras,
Oh, I
right?
bet.
Like they're
Clean it
getting
up.
they're getting it all
Getting rid
cleaned
of the
up and
getting rid of
everything.
the horse shit smell.
But now that is one of my favorite cities to walk around and look at architecture.
Oh yeah, the
It's a
French Quarter
great
is
city,
fantastic
right?
for that. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing that DeSantis is already started playing that hand as far as marijuana legalization. He's shifting his stance visibly
Yeah.
in how he's going to move forward with it, to the extent that I do believe. You don't quote me on it, but I do believe that if he is 2022, he's got to run for office here again, right?
Yep.
Okay. I expect something is going to
I hope
happen
so.
between now and 2022.
That'd
This
be
is where
fantastic.
he will take a play from his doppelganger, or his what alternate self up in New York, and he's going to
Yeah.
use that same play because he can use it not
Mirror
to
DeSantis.
distract. He will use it not to distract, but to persuade.
Like Mirror World DeSantis.
Right, Mirror World DeSantis.
Right. Like
So,
he's just got the same. It looks exactly the same, but he's got the goatee, the
right.
black goatee instead.
Well, here's a question for you, John. Here's a question for you
Oh.
folks out in the audience, if you want to
Wow.
give me an answer. Based off what's been happening with Cuomo in the near past here recently, um, is the marijuana legislation going to shift it enough that he can maintain his hold in 2022 if he's up for re-election? Will he last that long, or will he actually manage to be re-elected?
I think he'll certainly last long enough to see the election through. I don't think he's stepping down beforehand. It depends on who goes up against him, though. It really depends on who goes up against him and how much.
Well, we already know who one is.
Do we?
Andrew Yang plans to
No,
run.
he's going for mayor. Not
Oh,
for
is he
governor.
going for? Oh, he
Yeah,
is
he's going for mayor of
My
New York
bad.
City. Yeah.
My bad. My bad.
But what was it saying? Something about
Who he runs against?
yeah. So it depends on who he runs against and how much the Democrats are willing to put their necks out for him coming up. Like they might just be like, hey, you know what? Leave him alone. Like whatever happens, happens. He's dead weight. We can, we'll cut him off. Cut off the dead weight and be done with it. We'll see.
Quest says, I don't think my neighbors are quite that stupid. If they are, I'll be slapping everyone when I walk down the street. Ed says Fanning for governor.
I agree. I like how Fanning also said horse shit is mostly coming out of City Hall. Yeah, which is also true.
Yeah, you would think they would upgrade to, motorized vehicles, but
Yeah, but no.
just still
Horse
the
shit.
horse and buggy. Still the horse
Yep.
and buggy. Yeah, I don't love those still be running around in populated cities.
I like
Fuck
it.
your nostalgia.
No,
You know
fuck
what?
you, dude. No,
You know what?
no.
If-
No, I was in Charleston recently. Charleston, South Carolina. That was fucking awesome. Horses and buggies
now
walking around everywhere. That was cool.
That's different.
It's in downtown Charleston. That's
Yeah,
it's a
you don't
city.
need it in New York City. It's different.
Okay, I don't care.
It's
Yeah,
two
fuck New
different
York.
things.
Sorry, Quest, but I'm not from there, so I don't really care about New York. But
Ed
yeah.
says Giuliani. Oh, that's right. Giuliani's kid is going to run for
And that's taking this
governor. Rudy
What?
Giuliani's kid is going to run for governor.
Yeah,
I
that's
did
right.
see
He looks
something
like
about
he looks
that.
like Biff, doesn't he? He kind of looks like Biff from Back to the Future. Especially the teeth. Like the teeth really do it. He's got like his upper lip is like stuck up here, and he's got
What
like
do you
these
know?
huge teeth.
What the fuck do you know about Back to the Future? You kidding?
I watched the first two. I think definitely watched the first two. I think I've seen the third. I've definitely watched
You
the
should.
first
I
two.
can't. You. The third one's a western. You should be watching that sometime, anytime now, right
You
now,
didn't
while you're
give me that
watching
as on the list,
of
so and
westerns.
it's not. It's
One
not. Yeah,
assumes that you've seen the Back to the Future movies.
I might have. In fact, you say it's a western. I probably did. Is that the one where he stays in the past, right?
No, he doesn't. Well, yeah. You're talking about Doc.
Doc, yeah, he
Yeah,
stays in the past.
he's in the past.
Yeah.
He says Giuliani's kid looks suspiciously like Sidney Powell. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, Andrew Giuliani was cringe. He doesn't look like his dad at all.
Well, that's probably not a bad thing
Rudy.
because Rudy's kind of scary looking.
Oh, which one's fatter? Do you think? Do you think Rudy or Christie is fatter? I think Christie might actually be
Oh,
fatter.
Christie by a long shot. I mean,
Rudy's pretty big though.
yeah,
He's
no,
a big
but
boy.
Christie, like Rudy looks old and fat.
Yeah,
Chris Christie
he
looks
just looks fat as fuck.
unhealthy and fat.
Yeah, that's fair.
He doesn't look. He doesn't. He looks like he could keel over at any time.
It's
Like
true.
he literally does. It's like if someone was going to have a heart attack in an Italian restaurant, it would be Chris Christie.
Right.
He's just gonna fucking keel over into
Into
fucking
the spaghetti.
into the pasta, right? Meatball,
Right.
2 meatballs,
Yep.
just a double smack. Yeah, no, that's yeah. But the focus right now.
Hang on, before you move on, talk
Oh.
to the chat for a second, because I'm gonna go have a piss.
No, why don't you do this before we leave?
I did. I've been drinking beer.
John's getting older. Quest. It would be very. It'd be interesting to find out. For me, like how much do you know, or how much exposure have you had to Andrew Giuliani there in New York? I mean, is he known or what is it? Visible individual in the town, like because of Rudy, or is he obscured in the city because of Rudy? I don't know how he would play out, but I was trying to find something that somebody said in the chat. I was the Quest, what you mentioned about Ron DeSantis and the nursing homes was spot on. But were you? I don't know if you were here for our last episode, and we talked a little bit about how he got butchered by 60 Minutes. Other than seeing him back when he was a goofy kid back in the day, never seen him really. So that like they're just pulling him out of the woodwork. He's not been in any other official capacity in the New York area. I mean, otherwise he's solely running on the family name, because I don't know how much credibility that would even fucking begin to give him.
Will Giuliani?
Yeah.
Baby Giuliani?
Yeah, he was saying. Quest was saying, other than seeing him back when he was a goofy kid back in the day, he doesn't never seen him.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Because I was asking how well known he is there in New York, how visible
Right.
he is, or if
And
he's,
what are his qualifications? I'm sure he's got
Right.
a law degree or something, right?
one would hope he would have some sort of degree.
I mean, I don't
you
really
know.
care if someone has a degree or not. If they're if they're worth having around,
You know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing for me. Surprisingly enough, my thought is this: that having a law degree, having a firm grasp of the law, to where you could be a lawyer, a judge, whatever. That should be the degree for politicians. Fuck your political
it already
science.
Is. Hang on, it already is. Most of them do have a law degree. Most of
But
them
it's
started
not
out
a
as
requirement.
lawyers.
Some of them are political
requirement,
science
but look.
majors and this, that, and the other.
What just happened? What just happened the other day? Joe Biden, who has a law degree, now he graduated towards the bottom of his class, but he has a law degree, started saying false shit like, about the Constitution, um, about gun rights and stuff like that. Like he obviously doesn't understand this stuff, or he's just lying, which I think is more like he's lying
Well,
because he's been in government for 50 years and he's got a law degree. Which I mean, yeah, he was towards the bottom of his class, but he's got the fucking piece of paper in his hand. He
okay,
knows better.
okay. So,
And so no, it just because you have a law degree does not qualify you to be a politician.
whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not saying that is not what I was saying. That is not what I said at all. What I'm saying is that going through those years of study of the law, knowing that a politician has that in their background, makes it easier for me to determine whether or not there's someone like Joe Biden who is interpreting the law versus someone whose main goal is to protect the law, as far as in the sanctity of law, the sanctity of the process, and regulation and legislation, understands it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will understand political science majors and people that follow those paths, and business. I understand business and economics. It's important, right? But that should be a part of under your law degree anyway. I'm
Sure.
sorry, it just should be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that Joe Biden is an excellent example of someone who interprets the law, and to be honest with you, doesn't see the law in the right way, or is taking it too literally. And it's good that you bring that up, because I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, and I'm fucking batting 1,000 on segues tonight, man.
What do we see when I say the Bill of Rights? What is that? What does that entail to you? What are the Bill of
The
Rights?
first 10 amendments
Right.
of the Constitution.
Okay. And what do you, in your heart of hearts, what have you learned to understand about the Constitution? That those 10 amendments are the sanctity of the Constitution, right? That is the heart of the Constitution.
Those are the shall not be changed. Those are locked in.
Right. Those are the stone cold amendments, right?
Right.
Okay. So Joe Biden says this: no amendment to the Constitution is absolute, and he makes this argument. He says you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater and call it freedom of speech. He says from the very beginning you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning that the Second Amendment existed, certain people weren't allowed to have weapons.
Yeah, they were called slaves.
So the idea... Shut up, John. So the idea is just bizarre to suggest some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution. Holy shit. That's some funny stuff.
Wonder how Joe Biden views you, right? Jesus Christ. That is horseshit, dude. Anyone who wasn't a slave was allowed to own any fucking weapon that they could afford, including and up to and including fucking warships with numerous cannon aboard that could tear apart a city from the harbor from a distance. But yeah, you're gonna get fucking intercepted, and they're gonna come and board you and capture you, sure. But I mean, how easy would it be?
I guess.
You could get a whole broadside off, at least one before they even start coming at you. You might be able to get 2-3 broadsides off.
Right.
But you could wreck a lot of places.
You'll go down in the You'll go down in the annals of history.
History, that's right.
Such
as a certain pirate who blockaded Charleston Harbor, and demanded medicine and shit. Just saying, that was a thing that happened. And that was a civilian-owned shit.
Quest points out, he says, the ninth is the best. If there isn't a specific power designated to government, it is a right we reserve, which I'll mention that. He says the fire in a movie theater was from a dissenting opinion, not established law. Correct.
Right, but it is precedent that's used in law, as far as I understand. I could be wrong about that. I'm not like an expert, or I don't claim to
Right.
be an expert, but as far as I understand, that's precedent that moves. Is what is used in courts,
Well,
as far as I know.
but here's the thing: is when he talks about the Ninth Amendment, with if the power is a specific power isn't designated to government, it is a right we reserve. However,
Yeah.
the federal government is a is masterful at pinning everything under federal power, right?
Oh yeah.
Some
Oh
way,
yeah.
shape, of 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, it will find a way to be under the power of the federal government
Well,
through.
it's because people don't understand the Constitution. Not that I'm not a constitutional scholar or anything, but the point of it is to restrict the government, not the people. But the
Right,
people have been so fucking duped
right,
that they think it's these are the rights that we get from the government.
right.
I,
Well,
I
we
mean, I don't know if you
right.
remember back when we first started the show, you thought that you were under the impression of that, and I had been not too long before that. Before that, I had been under the same impression. It's all this. That's what people learn is
Well,
that like, oh, these are the rights granted to you, not guaranteed. They say guaranteed, but it's implied that, or at least they force you to infer that it is
right.
granted to you by the Constitution,
Well, see, my interpretation
but
of
it is
it
not.
was my interpretation of what the where we're at is that the government, they are governing to protect those rights. That's how I've always
Right.
seen it. They're governing to protect those rights by doing things that protect your rights. For instance, we protect your First Amendment right by limiting yelling people from yelling fire in a
Right.
crowded movie theater. That's how we protect your First Amendment right through governance.
Yeah.
Right? And it's easy that way when you make
Well, because
that
that's what they tell you.
justification.
Well, that's what they tell you, right? We're protecting rights
Right,
by
and
passing
that's
legislation.
their job.
But they're
They're
full
there
of
to
shit.
right.
They're full of shit.
It's about how we put we make this easy to swallow. You ever
Yeah.
watch? Have you ever tried to give some animals a pill? Shit. You ever seen a horse try? The size of a pill you got to
Mm-hmm.
give a horse. Jesus Christ! And you got to put that thing back in the back of their mouth, and those teeth.
Mm.
Phew.
Nothing to fuck
I'm
with.
just
Yeah.
saying, but anyway, you got to make it easy to swallow for the American people. So if you tell them consistently that it's our job to protect your rights, to keep you safe,
Mm-hmm.
we put these regulations in place around these rights.
Well, see, that's the thing. We're protecting your rights to keep you safe. Sorry.
Right.
We're protecting your rights to keep you safe.
Right.
But you can't have both.
And
You
when
can't. You can have rights, or you can be
Right.
safe. You cannot have both. And you can say, "Oh, well, we're just compromising a little bit of, a little bit of your rights in order to increase the freedom."
right.
It's not how it works. It's not working that way, is it?
Well,
I
John,
see a lot more. I see a lot more of trying to be safe and a lot less of trying to preserve rights. But at the same time, we're getting neither. It's almost like that one quote that's often misattributed to Benjamin Franklin about giving up a little bit of liberty for a little bit of freedom or a little bit of safety, and you don't get either. So yeah,
well,
it's
I mean,
100% true. I don't know who said it, but it's 100% true.
right. And I mean, it's it's all in how it can be sold. You have to. Here's the thing. John, these are not regulations that we're putting in place.
Well, it gets even
These are
worse.
clarifications
Oh.
of existing rights.
Oh.
These are clarifications,
Wow. Clarify these nuts.
right?
Fuck out of here.
Of course, the founding fathers knew that we would reach a point where we would have to have background checks on guns.
Dude, fuck, dude. I saw the worst article I've ever seen in my life that had to do with that exact thing. There was hey, so I'm a huge fan of history. I've studied a lot of history.
Right.
This dude, who was apparently some history professor in some school in New York, some university in New York, and he went through this article and was like, ha ha ha, some people don't realize what rights actually are, what their rights actually are under the Constitution. The founding fathers were actually very for gun control. Here's why. And he went through a bunch of these, like, these very, like, obscure laws from, like, a county in Pennsylvania. And then he even did one trick, which, by the way, that law that he was talking about was overturned by the state because it was ruled unconstitutional. Um, but so he was like very sneaky about putting in things that are very obscure,
Right.
but wording them away in a way as though they were like commonly adopted.
Right.
So there was that one. I'll have to find the article because we should have gone over it tonight. I just didn't even think to save it. It was that there was. He talked about the founding fathers, and then he talks about going back to like 1690 something. During like in Pennsylvania, once again in Pennsylvania, it was because it was Quaker owned, and so it was like, oh, everyone's automatically in the militia from the age of like 16 to 60, I think. Like everyone was in the militia at that time. All of men, all the white men were in.
Right.
Was law was all white men were in the militia from 16 to 60, and like they were issued guns first of all, so it's not like they had to really buy their own guns. I think
Right.
a lot of them did, but they didn't have to.
Right.
But that their guns were registered.
Right.
Let me do this again. Registered. Their guns were registered. When really, what the case was that they had to show up at certain times, with a well cleaned and maintained rifle,
Right.
or musket.
Like a National Guard.
Kind of, except for they were an actual militia. They weren't.
Right,
Yeah,
but
exactly
like
same
the
thing,
National Guard has to
yeah.
show up every once a month
I think
or
it's
something and show.
yeah. I
that
think it's
you're
1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the
press
year.
uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, looking
stuff
good.
like that.
Hopefully in some kind of shape.
Right.
But I don't know. You've seen a lot of those National Guard guys.
Well, see,
But no disrespect to them. They're fine. I don't have a problem with National Guard guys. It's
Right.
just funny.
Right.
But no. I mean, like, but they're saying like, but first of all, he was making it out to like the muskets were registered. Like that's what they had a serial number. When it's like, no, that's not the case at all. The people were registered in the militia, so they knew who around
Right.
was in the militia, so they would know if someone didn't show up to muster.
right.
Like that's what that was. That wasn't the gun being registered to keep it so you wouldn't go out and shoot people and then drop the gun and they could tell who
Well,
you were.
you
It's
use
not
the
at all the case.
you use the correlation if they're registered.
Oh, he's
with
got it
the-
right here. Ed just sent it to me.
If they're,
just sent me
they're registered with
article.
if they're registered with the militia and they're given a gun, then the idea is that the gun is registered to them.
That's not what happened though, because I looked through this stuff. I looked through everything that he.
I didn't know if the gun was assigned to them based off their registration in the militia.
Well, yeah. Once they were registered, they got a gun.
So that's the leap, right? That's the leap that the gun was
Yeah, there's a ton of
registered,
leap.
and instead it was actually they were registered
the
in
person.
the militia. The gun was
And they
just
better
issued.
show up with a
Right,
gun.
Right.
Like,
they have to
yeah.
keep up with their equipment.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, that's
And that was before we were America. That was
Well,
before the Constitution existed. That was before the founding fathers were alive. Like, stop with this nonsense, dude. Stop.
Look, here's it's about narrative, right? We know this. It's about how you can put it out there. It's about what the last 3 weeks, what have you seen more of than anything else in the news?
Shootings.
Right. Do you know
Yeah.
how many mass shootings there have been as of yesterday in Bryan, Texas? There was another one.
1,000.
So, how many does that make in America since the beginning of this month, realistically?
Probably like 1,000.
No.
Oh, how many were reported? Were like 3.
Well, like how many?
Four. Three or
What they
four,
what they
something like that.
constitute as a mass shooting, where
The ones that they report on.
4 more people were injured or killed.
No. Because there were ones that they didn't.
Well,
so I think it was like 4.
Well,
Because there were ones that were,
right.
they were more than
Right.
4
that,
people,
that,
but
that
they
made
still
the
didn't.
media. Right. That
Yeah,
made,
that's what I'm saying.
There were a handful that made the media.
They
but
were the wrong
overall-
color. Yeah.
Overall,
They
there
didn't
have
get
been
reported.
14.
14.
Right. There's been 14
nice.
since in the last 8 days. As
Yeah.
of yesterday, Bryan,
Come on, dude.
Texas was the latest one. But
We can't tell clearly
you've
that
been
there's a
seeing
narrative there.
this. You've been seeing this very, very much in the media the last 3 weeks. And it just so happens that Joe Biden now has some legislation in his pocket that he's ready to put forward, um, that is going to be new executive orders on gun control,
Mm-hmm.
where he is going to. It includes expanding background checks on certain types of guns, regulating stabilizing braces built for pistols. I'm like, you can't
I'm surprised
stabilize
that
a
one
pistol.
lasted. I'm surprised that one's lasted as
What
long as
was
it
it? What
has.
was it? What does it accomplish that makes it bad to have? Was it working as a?
It holds it more stable. It makes it more stable. You can brace it against your arm, so you have better control over
Oh,
the recoil.
it's like a stock. Is
It's
what it
basically
basically.
a long stock. Yeah, that
Gotcha.
makes a yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I was
You
looking
can
at a
actually
crossbow pistol that had something like that. That
yeah, you probably
has a
have yeah.
stock that expands.
Right.
But making new investments in intervention programs for violence-prone communities and creating model red flag legislation for states to pass.
That's what really bothers me because this is what they do. They say, oh, we're making the model for red flag laws. If the states want it, the states who want it, they can have it. They can have this model. Meanwhile, what they actually do is they hold the infrastructure money, the highway money and stuff hostage to those states to incentivize them to pass certain legislation. This happens all the time. That's how they get around the 10th Amendment. But no, so no, you really don't have much of a choice but to pass it because you're gonna pass it
Right,
unless you can find the money somewhere else, which most states can't do. Most
right,
states can't handle their own highway without those government subsidies because government takes their money and then redistributes it to the states. Some need it more than others, and some can give more money than others. So there's the benefactor states and the um, contributing states. And luckily, I think Florida is a contributing state, so
right.
so
Well,
we might be able to handle it ourselves. But I don't know.
well, it's we're going to have to look at how it's being framed in the media because that's where it's going to sell to the American public, right?
Well, yeah, they're gonna say,
Right,
"Look, we're not forcing
right,
you to do it," but behind closed doors,
right.
they're
Well,
absolutely strong arming at the very least.
right. Well, even CNN, they did a fact check article, right?
Oh,
And
I'm
it
sure they did.
on what he had to say about this gun legislation, and it was
Hmm.
interesting because it's like immediately I'm like, okay, they're not going to call him out. It's I mean they're it's Joe Biden, and but then I'm
Yeah,
like,
he's right.
oh look, they are calling him out, and then I really looked at it. So like
Hmm.
he talks about gun manufacturers and liability,
That's the worst thing. I never
right?
heard it. I
He
don't know
said,
how you
well,
make that argument.
well, he says
Go ahead.
it's a billion dollar industry that can't be sued, and has been exempted from
Why
being
would they?
sued,
Why
and
would they be?
right, and CNN's like, well, this is false, and then they go on and they talk about how they can be sued, and it's all the same ways that any manufacturer could be sued for a product, but they can't
Yeah,
be held accountable when a criminal acts with a gun,
right. Just like
right,
if I'm driving my car down the road and I run you over, it's not
right,
Ford's fault.
right.
It's very simple. This is very
Right.
very simple.
But they so to slam him as false, they point out all the ways that they as a company could be sued
Right.
for defects in the gun and this, that,
Yeah.
and the other.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Background checks and gun shows. Biden says if you walk into a store and buy a gun, you have a background check. Go to a gun show, you can buy whatever you want and no background check. Well,
Which is
that's
also not true.
and they're okay. It is actually not true. There is
Yeah.
one part of it that is true, in that private sellers at gun shows, which there are fewer and fewer private sellers at gun shows anyway, a private seller doesn't have to do a background check. But
Yeah.
the gun shows are trying to be more up and up and only have gun dealers there
Right.
as opposed to private sellers who can do backdoor things. Now, that's not to say that you won't run into dealers who are like, well, I do have this in my private collection.
Right.
right?
Sure.
But
Sure.
it's blatantly false that they don't do background checks, because they do.
Right.
They didn't slam him for that. They're like, well, this framing is misleading,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, no, it's not misleading. It's that's not true.
Right.
But anyway, red flag laws and suicide. He says that the so-called red flag laws, like the extreme risk protection order laws, that allow to ask a court to temporarily remove guns from people. He likes those. He says states with red flag laws have seen a reduction in the number of suicides in their states, and their only framing in that is that this needs context. Research on this subject is limited. Some of the available research data is mixed, and suicide rates have increased around the U.S. in the 21st century, and it has. Guess what? You know why suicides have gone up for the last 50 years? It's going to be a tough one.
Okay. Um.
What do you
Hmm.
think it is?
So it's obviously not something that would be immediately
And I'm saying the number of suicides that happens every year has gone up
right.
substantially over 50 years. Why?
I don't know.
Because our population has increased so much
Oh,
over
well,
the
that
last
makes
50
okay. Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to
Okay, that
have a
makes sense.
substantial increase in the
That
number of
makes sense.
suicides in a country that has an
God
increasing
damn it.
population year by year by year by year.
That totally makes sense. God damn
It's
it. Why
not
did
to
I'm
say
an
that
idiot.
it's not to say that they don't inflate the numbers, but the
Sure.
suicides by guns, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? We are a gun happy country. I don't care how you want to cut it. We love our
Hmm.
guns. You know, the rest of the world
Fucking less
acknowledges
and
this.
less
Those
though.
Americans love their guns. Don't
Less
go
and
there,
less, but yes, I agree.
right?
Yeah.
But uh,
Quest got it.
right,
Increase
see,
in population. Yeah.
it is exactly that, and more people means more guns, means more suicides by gun.
Right. Just the raw numbers. Yeah. Not per capita.
Guess what? More
Yeah.
people, more crazy
Right.
people with guns.
Right.
Where are we failing? Oh, public education math. That
Yeah.
must be where they're failing, because they can't just see simple math on this.
No, no, no,
And
no, no. You misunderstand. It's intentional. These misleading numbers are intentional. Absolutely. They're being read a certain way. It's not being, uh, those reports aren't coming out, with that. It's coming out and someone's like reinterpreting it and misreading it and on purpose and just kind of saying, okay, well, look, they've just gone up and not like and missing context and all this kind of shit.
so, yeah, and they don't talk about everything. The mass shooting is, well, I think some of these are actually getting more media time. Um, we're seeing more reports like of these 14 that have happened this month. I want to say there are a good portion of these that were reported on in some way, shape, or form, in various media,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily just ours. Surprisingly enough, it's weird to see the Mirror and other UK papers
Dude, the
talking about
Mirror
things.
is a fucking rag, by the way.
Right,
From the,
but they get a hold of stories too that
yeah,
we're
yeah,
not
yeah.
talking about, right? Sometimes,
BBC,
you know.
they
Um,
get a lot of stuff too.
Now,
Yeah,
sometimes they're reporting a story that's old, right, and they're putting
yeah,
it out over there. But other times, but anyway, but the point is, even in places like Detroit, Chicago, where we expect these kind of situations to occur, we're seeing some of this in the media as well in these high density urban areas, economically challenged cities, etc. Um, so it's the narrative that's being fed to us right now to speed this locomotive that's coming, because those things that they say it includes are just what they are putting out there. We
yeah.
got to get in there and we got to check the meat of what he's about to put forward, because I would hazard a guess that there's some pretty meaty stuff. And
Yeah.
and I say this as in talking to a new gun owner, right? People
Mm-hmm.
that want to pick up a weapon for the first time, put that in their house, have that to protect themselves, or carry it on them to protect themselves. Like, I'm not saying they're going to come take your guns. I'm not saying that yet, right? I'm not there. But what I am saying is they're going to make it so fucking challenging to get a
Right.
gun,
Right.
to get certain guns, right?
Right.
You won't kill off the hunting industry, so long rifles are
A
pretty
bolt action rifle is always going to be allowed to be around.
right.
Probably a shotgun, and probably some handguns. Probably revolvers will be safe, because they're pretty limited in their magazine or in their capacity.
Um,
Uh,
yeah,
but
I strongly recommend my old standard, my old preferred go to is a 30-06 bolt action.
hmm
3 round clip is all you need. It's fine. If you can't do it in 3 shots, you need not be shooting it in the first place.
That's right.
So,
Well, I mean, unless there's like 4 people coming at
well,
you,
call
but
it four
whatever.
shots because you can chamber one.
You can chamber one, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But
All right. Well, unless there's 5 people coming at you.
right, but you need that one extra shot for dragging the kill back, so you fend off the bear.
Right,
Uh,
right, naturally.
right. So, um, but no, yeah, it's I like that. I recommend that gun as well because they do a scatter shot, uh, a scatter shot for it that turns it into the equivalent of a 410 shotgun,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's but I like their it's a nice little rifle. I enjoyed that when I was a kid growing up. I had a good old fashioned standard. God, it was probably from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
I don't know how old the gun is, but it was a family gun. Then my old man took it away from him, and I never liked him since.
Right.
It's the
Yeah,
only
that's
thing
like
the only thing I've ever wanted from my family, from anybody in my family, is like, dude, give me my gun back.
right.
I don't give me my gun back. I just want my gun back because
You
I
might
know
have to
he's
just get a
still
new
got
one,
it.
man.
I know he's still got it.
Just might have to get a new
John,
one, man.
John,
Soak up the cost, man.
John.
Soak it up.
It was my second first gun
I know. I get it.
because I had a 410 shotgun when I was a kid. That was my first gun.
Right.
But then I stepped up to the 30-06 when I started living with my dad. But he took that shit away from me, just because whenever I had to move out, he's like, "Oh no, you can't take that with you.
Mm.
Oh, you're gonna pull that dick move, right?"
Damn. Yeah. So you'll have to, I don't know, get back in contact with him or something.
No, fuck no, I ain't
Be
talking
like,
to that son of a
motherfucker, you
bitch.
better, like, motherfucker, but you better leave that in your will. I'll come pick it up when you're dead. All good.
I was just planning on asking for it at the funeral.
Yeah. Just be like, hey, come on, man. Come on, man. We have.
I don't know, you know. God damn it, John! Why you digging up old wounds? God.
I didn't mean to, man.
But anyway, so yeah, no, when it's all said and done, we can look at almost every problem that we've got in this country, everything that is of an issue, no matter which point you're arguing the issue from the right or from the left or from the center. All of these problems are rooted in a population growth that is astronomical in the last 50 plus years.
And I wonder what a large portion of that population growth is due to.
It's, right?
Hmm.
I mean, immigration has been an issue for a long fucking time. If you want to talk about that being the problem, look, you're going to have increased regulation when there's more people, especially when you have to regulate people who are coming into this country and have to be regulated to flow with the masses. I mean, think about it. You've got to control your population that you are growing exponentially through your own short-sightedness, because you can't look at the long-term impacts of just letting things run wild. We can't do that anymore. We can't
Yeah.
be a country of excess. We can't be a country of open doors and open arms.
Shit. Honestly, we have stopped being a country of consumption. That is, I think, the biggest problem is consumerism in general.
Well, but how do you stop that when
Yeah. Right.
everything
Everything is
is
designed around it.
yeah, right,
Except for our income tax, strangely enough, right? You would think, as we are a consumer, which means a service economy, rather than a manufacturing one, you would switch from an income tax to a sales tax. But anyway, um,
John? That is the fuel by which the
that
consumerist
was
machine. Oh, what was that?
oh no, I was just saying that was my argument for the fair tax back in the day, and I was making that argument was we're no longer a manufacturing economy, so
Right,
taxing the income makes no sense. Tax the product
right.
then. Um,
But see,
but
it's those taxes that fuel the consumerism machine, right? I mean, through
right, so you make more
regulation,
money through
right,
sales tax than you would through an income
right.
tax,
If
because people would get to spend more on shit rather than just
right,
having it taken right out of their paycheck. But um, to answer the question though, because you did ask a question of how do you stop that? Well, the only way to do it is just do it individually. Like you have to stop doing it. I have to stop
right,
doing it. And
and
it's not. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not like I'm not mad at anybody for still doing it. I'm doing it still. I mean, it's kind of just part and parcel of living in America, right? You're just consuming all the time. I'm consuming right now.
right. But the problem there is that
Mm.
that is getting something like that to grow is the key because without growth of that mindset to
Yeah.
stop the consumerism, the consumption, and go back to a production based society. It's
Yeah. Well, the problem is if America itself as a country wants to continue to be the biggest player on the main stage, on the world stage, I mean, then yeah, we have to keep going the way that we're going. Now, obviously, I think we've already peaked, we've plateaued. I think it's going to start going downwards if it hasn't already. Um, but like to consume more makes you wealthier in the global economy. Like, it doesn't seem like that would work that way, but it does. Like we borrow way more money than anyone else, which makes us wealthier somehow.
right,
Um, so we'd have to first of all not want to be the biggest player or even a big player on the world stage in order to stop that, and that's not going to happen. I don't see that minds that I don't see that change happening.
well, so well, would you at least agree that uh, the rest of the world we're at a point in our glory that the rest of the world is starting to peek behind the curtains, right? They're starting to be able to see what's going on, backstage, as it were, in America. It's much more visible now, and they see the actual realistic stupidity and turmoil that we have going on. Does that not
Do we?
are
I
we
don't know.
are when do we reach a point where we see that we are nothing but an embarrassment to a lot of the world once we reach that point? I mean, will we ever see it?
Not in like no, not in like the large scale. In like the personal individual scale, sure. Like we can see people doing it, but I don't think that's going to be a popular thing. At least not until the economy collapses again. Until we have another Great Depression, which would be even worse than the last Depression we had. You know when when everyone had to. I think wasn't it your grandparents were part of the Great Depression?
Uh,
It would have been right. That's about
my
the right time.
yeah my yeah my yeah yeah because
So
my grandmother talked about being a child during the depression. Yeah.
right, perfect, exactly, perfect example. Right. There was hardship for pretty much everyone, almost
Right.
everyone at the time, and
Right.
people had to become strong. They had to become self-sufficient. They had to learn, certain skills, like including being thrifty, with money. The little bit that you had coming in had to go to bills
Right.
and whatnot,
Oh yeah.
as
And they
opposed
were
to
they lived in the Dust Bowl too. You know,
oh
during
yeah,
that time,
that's even worse.
right?
Yeah, the Dust Bowl and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so it's. I mean, everything.
that's what
You
it's
know,
going to take though for people to get back to it is another Great Depression.
but they've achieved a level of consumption now that I think has gone over the edge, as it were. It's on the other side of the hill. It's all downhill from here, because the devices, social media, the social networks, everything that consumerism is tied into, we're consuming it constantly now. So acting on that almost involuntary consumption of consumerism is just commonplace. It's just like second nature now to act on what we're seeing and being fed, you know, 10, 20 hours a day through our devices,
Hmm.
right? I mean, it's I don't know that it's escapable. Like, you would have to, there's a certain level of unplugging that has to go on.
It would take a certain amount of willpower. Yeah, for sure. Especially the younger you are. I mean, like kids, especially. And I say kids, I mean all the way up to 18, 19, 20, 21. Uh, they're very much engrossed in social media, what's going on there, and taking selfies and posting short, 20-second videos or something, to kind of show like, here's a little glimpse into my awesome life, like how great it is. But when
Right.
really, it kind of sucks most of the time. But it's besides the point. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible for like you and I to convince someone, I think, to unplug, especially because one, I mean, look what we're doing right now, right?
Right.
Our not our job, but our hobby is to be plugged in
Right.
and to know what's going on social media and know what's happening, um, as it's happening, and then we're supposed to try and tell people, oh, by the way, you should unplug, but
Right.
you should continue watching our show. But unplugging would probably be better. But make sure you watch our show. Like we can't really, we can't do it.
And and
So
and I think the important, something to take away from that is you and I are not at a high level of plugged in comparatively, right?
yeah,
To
I mean,
some people,
we have the same access of information as everyone else on social media. We don't have like special access or anything.
right?
Yeah,
Like, when was the
yeah,
last time you spent 7 hours, 8 hours just sitting around doing nothing but social media, buzzing and bopping and talking and and
yeah.
responding and replying and commenting and liking and
I've done that actually.
upvoting and
I did that like
downvoting and
once this week. I
right,
was on Twitter like all day because I had
right,
nothing else to do. So I was like watching, I got the two screens, so I was watching something on this
right.
screen and then Twitter on this screen. So there was like one day that I did that, but it's not nearly as much as it could be. Yeah.
Unplugging would break some people. Like, and not unplugging from the internet. I'm not saying fully unplugging. I'm just saying
Yeah.
unplugging from the social network.
Yeah.
Like, if you were just, you were nothing but a bystander, so you just use the internet for stuff following your interests, well, like it used to be back in the good old days, right? Before it really blew into this social networking world that we
Yeah.
live in. But it's we're so connected to so many people that we're just completely distant from. These are this false illusion of that we're a connected people, and you're not, because as soon as most people step away from those devices, they're
Hmm.
doing something that those plugged in on the other side would lambast them for, that
Hmm.
they never see. They don't see your personal life. You're not connected. You don't have
Well,
you have
yeah.
a virtual
Give like
relationship with people.
Right, and you give them a
right?
glimpse of your personal life,
Right.
but it's not the whole
It's
picture. Yeah,
it's it's
for sure.
VR.
Yeah,
It's pre VR. Is it's all it is. And these people have these
it's more like
delusions
AR, but yeah,
that
I get
it's
what you mean.
reality. And so what do corporations do? What do the sellers do? They lock into that.
Hmm.
One of my favorite examples of this was Second Life. Are you familiar with
Yeah,
that?
I'm
Right,
familiar
Second.
with it. I think I played it for like a few minutes
Right.
and just didn't care about it. Yeah,
Yeah, they turned that into a an economy for people, like where people can make art and sell it to other
Ma-
people in game
they were
for
making
real
a
world money.
living.
Right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and thriving from Second Life. I don't know
Yeah.
where it stands at this point, but it looked like it had reached a point where it was just sustainable. Right?
Did we watch the same documentary about that?
We
Because I
may
remember
have.
there was this like really and whatever. God bless her. She can do what she wants. Pretty fat, pretty fat black chick, who would just sit there on Second Life, and she would like design outfits
Right,
for Second Life. She had her own little store, retail store,
right,
and she just sat there and like sold stuff, and she would just sit at her computer for like 18 hours a day, just smoking cigarettes. Like there was a huge ashtray next to her that was like full of cigarettes. Like you know what I'm talking about, one of those
right.
big ass ashtrays that people have. And then she would just sit there and just smoke all day and just like sell making
Mm-hmm.
money on
Making
Second
money.
Life.
Right,
Yeah, she was paying her rent, she was paying her car, she was
right.
paying her mama's rent. Like
And
she
and
was, she was making all kinds of. God bless her, she's making money. I mean, do what you're gonna do, but like that's I don't know if that's good for humanity as a whole because
but
you're not really you're
well,
not producing anything. You're not at least not nothing tangible.
right,
You're not advancing anything.
but that's what
You're not being productive.
that is what people are creating for themselves. They see their social life, their social network, their friends, followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call them, the entire network. They see that as their reality. Like going out into the real world where the real world's not moderated, right? That's the
Well,
thing, right? the
well,
the
I
real
wouldn't know. I
world's
don't know
not
about that.
moderated. You can't just kick someone. So they try and take that into the
Right.
outdoor world reality. You know, and it's like, okay, so you see these Karens running around. You know, no matter which type of Karen it is, but they're wanting to shape the world outside their doors into the reality they've become accustomed to. This
Right.
is what
Like
I
you're
think
walking
a
by
lot
them,
of
just
people are
like
doing.
block. Just like nope, I
Right.
block you.
I can't just
Yeah.
block people out there. And so what is their option? Oh, I got to call the police. I got to go get irate.
Hmm.
I got to, whatever the case may be. I got to make myself be noticed. You know, it's like, God damn. But it's that, it leads to that vocal minority again that is is having influence in the wrong places. It influences the consumerism. Now now you have to be politically correct, like uber correct, to do business with so many places now, right? That's the expectation because those places are presenting themselves as this
Oh, I know.
socially just environment
Yeah.
and workplace and everything, and then they all duck their heads the next time something blows up on Twitter from some corporation, and they're like, "Oh, it wasn't us. All right, false alarm, guys. We're good. Go back to doing what you're doing."
Hiding under their
Right?
desks and stuff. Yeah.
Right? Oh shit, it happens here too. We just put out a tweet that said different.
Right.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's insidious where it is, and you have to ask yourself, how much are you plugged in that reality, whether it be, whatever narrative it's feeding you, because we
Hmm.
most of us are tuning into narrative that feeds our wants our likes, that kind of thing. It's all geared that way, right? The algorithms are sending you stuff geared towards what will speak to you, right? But you got to ask yourself how much of your narrative when you walk out your door is fueled by your social environment, what you're taking in. You know, look at my narrative, right? My narrative over the last 3+ years that we've been doing this show.
Yeah, coming up on 3 actually. Holy shit!
Is it coming up on 3?
I think so.
Video shows,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. But when it's all said and done, my narrative has changed, right? A lot.
Mine has too, but yours has more drastically, I think.
And a lot of that is exposing myself on a regular diet of
Mm-hmm.
mainstream media of all different voices as much as I can. But that's mainly where I'm getting my opinions because, I've told you before, I don't get on Twitter. I don't watch
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of stuff on YouTube because I feel like, much like reading, right? I don't read as much when I'm writing because
Right.
I don't want my narrative to be influenced by someone else's opinion.
Right.
I want to ingest as much as possible the mainstream media, which is the largest feeder of narrative to the American public. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ron just made it funny.
Nice. I like that. But so it's you know, you get. What is your narrative like when you walk out of your house? What's it fueled by? Is it really fueled by your own personal standards, your own values, or
So-
is there influence there?
So I mean, my personal narrative is the same when I leave the house, but I do find myself kind of, as as the kids say, hiding my power level. I don't like if someone asks me something, or if I'm going to express an opinion, which I don't normally. Like I don't go around shouting about politics outside the house, outside of the show or outside of Twitter. I don't usually talk about politics at all. If I'm going to, I don't usually go with the full anarchist mode. I usually kind of go with like the milk toast libertarian, like because most people aren't ready to hear that sort of thing. I know I wasn't until pretty recently, about a year ago or so, was I even ready to hear about something like that. So I know most people aren't receptive to it. So I just kind of go with the whole milk toast libertarian party kind of line when I'm just talking to like a normie, as we call them,
Right.
someone who isn't as plugged in as you and I are.
Now, here's something I will say, and I find this interesting, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to put this the wrong way. I want it. I think you'll get what I'm saying. I think that my focus on the news and watching all of the fear mongering that goes on in all its different shapes and forms, and the sensationalism, blah blah blah. It has severely affected aware my critical awareness of people. Like, I'm much more critical of when I'm out in the real world now, right? Because I think just seeing so much of, I mean, it's rare that they report anything good.
Right,
Or
it's not going to get
what,
the eyeballs.
what
Yeah.
could be misconstrued as good, maybe. I don't, it's,
Yeah.
how it's spun may present it in a positive light, but that don't mean shit, right?
Right.
So it's I'm just like, I don't know. I see so much more doom and gloom in everyone, just from feeling the need to be aware of everything now. Just you got to be you got to be watching, because you never know when the next. John, right here at my local store, the one I'm talking about that I take walks up to.
Mm-hmm.
Right there at that intersection, road rage shooting. Guy leans over his pregnant wife and shoots a gun out the window. And did he kill the guy? Injured,
Motherfucker,
killed.
man.
Now I got to tell you, and
He
look,
probably didn't
look,
even hit the guy, to be
look,
honest. He probably didn't even hit the motherfucker.
all I'm doing is reading a name. I'm not trying to imply or say anything,
Don't
but
read
I
the
just,
name.
it was
Don't read the
just,
name.
why?
Don't read the name.
Of the person arrested? Is
Ah,
public, it's
all
just,
right, all right.
it,
Well, that could
I'm
cause
trying,
problems, but if it wasn't a national story, it'll probably fine. Go ahead.
it's, it's the weirdest fucking name. Traviance Polite Jr.
Excellent name. Good, strong name. I
I'm
like it.
like, what does that, what,
It sure does.
I just thought it was the oddest name. But anyway, this guy, he's kind of a piece of shit in my opinion, from the simple fact that if what they're saying is true, that he leaned over. Oh, yeah, is that an actual video? Can't be an actual video, can it?
Crazy man.
Wait, what?
Gotta be on it.
Okay, you had
Oh,
to. You
no,
had me
something
scared for a
else.
second
Uh,
because you were like, "Oh, did they actually?" And you looking over here, like as if the stream went down or something. I was like,
no,
"What?
I was making sure.
They actually take us down?" Like,
But he also put out an Instagram video where he was sitting with a gun in his car, watching somebody running down the street and talking about I got a bead on him, this, that, and the other. So this, but then he gets arrested for shooting his gun out the car over his pregnant wife's stomach, or girlfriend,
Right.
whatever. I'm like,
yeah, whatever it is.
I'm like, hold on a second, But so it's like, dude, you never know where shit's going to happen. Now it's just odd
Yeah.
that something did actually happen around me, because it doesn't usually. I mean,
Yeah, it's a pretty quiet neighborhood you got.
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot going on, and I mean, most of the time when you see a helicopter, it's probably just checking traffic on 408.
It's a news helicopter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So,
Not like at my old place.
But-
Oh my god.
but if you focus on mainstream
At my
media,
old place, it was.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, you lagged. I didn't catch
I was
that you
saying.
lagged.
I was just saying, at my old place, it was. Yeah, I know I lag. Which we fixed hopefully on Monday. Um, but yeah, at my old place though, it was always a police helicopter every single time, and it was 2-3 times a week. They'd have the helicopter. That helicopter was steady, steady out there having work.
But
Oh,
if you
man,
you know
that's-
if the mainstream media is to be believed, I mean, there's just so much random violence going on right now. There's so many mass shootings that you don't want to go out of your house, right? It's
Yeah.
scary to go out of your house until Biden enacts some gun legislation through executive action.
Right. I feel so much better.
And
So what? While you go over that, let me piss one more time.
holy crap!
Una
Are
ma-
you seriously going to piss again?
Una mas-
Then I'll start telling you guys something. But at the same time, not only right, bad news draws attention. It actually does, Quest. It actually draws attention, but it draws the wrong sort of attention. In the present day and age, it draws the fear out of people. To where they then swing their eyes to the government and say, how are you going to protect me from all those people out there that the media is telling me are waiting around the corner to kill me? Ron, there are sirens almost hourly around here now. I am thinking of moving back to a big city where it is more quiet. Is that but I thought you were kind of rural. Is your area growing, Ron? Is that what's making it happen, or is it just just general silliness? Read Factfulness by Hans Rosling. So good, uplifting, and realistic. No, come on, Factfulness. If there's facts involved, it can't be uplifting. Certainly not. Facts are bad. Come on. That's why we fact check everything. The feds are on to Ron, right? So yeah, have you been using the word chickens for something else, Ron, that you've got going on there? What should we know? Is it the best little what was it? The best little chicken ranch in Texas? There are less than 10,000 in this little town. See, and you got to ask yourself, what's going on? Is it a full moon? I don't know. We were talking to Ron a little bit. He said that he's thinking about moving back to the city where it's quiet because of all the sirens he's been hearing around there lately.
Yeah, I just read that one. It's funny.
But bear in mind, John.
Wait, so Quest Fanning is saying read Factfulness by Hans Rosling. So good, uplifting, realistic. Let me see what that is real quick.
I said if it has facts in it, I'm scared of it because that's always the facts are scary. I've learned facts are scary.
Let's see. I'm gonna look it up. Continue. I'm gonna see
but
if it's something that I want to pick up.
What's going to make all of this easier and more to come is something that is also Joe Biden put a panel together and has charged them with understanding the possibilities and what needs to be done to expand the U.S. Supreme Court.
It's cheap too.
Including expanding the number of justices beyond 9, and also wanting to also potentially imposing term limits on those. Which they, as far as expanding that, they say they could probably just do in Washington there, but imposing term limits is possibly going to need constitutional amendment to do that. But
yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Which I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I don't know, by executive order once again.
I don't have a.
It's not going to obviously.
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
All he did was put a panel together to look at it. Right.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's not. All he's doing by executive order is saying let's look into it, rather than he's not. Yeah, he's not doing executive order to make it happen.
And this is. It's not like this is new. We knew he wanted to do this, but he's really laying down what he wants them to go over, and I'm sure that's going to expand somewhat. But he wants to really kind of I don't know. In my opinion, the thing that happens if you expand the Supreme Court is you will still continue to over politicize it, because now what you want to do is you want to get liberal people on the Supreme Court. You want to stack the Supreme Court with their people. Yeah, you want to get a majority of liberals, right? Because then you can broaden out, into both, all across the spectrum, and handpick liberal-minded individuals to get a liberal majority on the Supreme Court. You can find liberal-minded Republicans, and you can find liberal-minded Democrats that are more, I could...
Well, to be fair, I would rather them be liberal, but that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be neoconservative, neoliberal, especially progressive. I know you're using the media. I know you're using the media's.
I grew up. Liberals and conservatives is what we were when growing up.
I understand that.
That's how you knew Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives. Right. That's what it always was, because it hadn't been fine tuned down into all the
way more nuanced than that. But I get it though. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. we have to have our pretty names.
Right, we have to all be a special snowflake. I'm my own ideology.
Right.
Fuck yourself, yeah.
Right. I have my sliver of the spectrum that I'm on. Yeah, no, so, but...
Definitely on the spectrum.
But, I mean, that's just an example. But for someone like Joe Biden, someone, with the current power structure, as it is right now in Washington, you get yourself a more progressive, I'll say more progressive, stacked Supreme Court with, say, 13, 15, members, because you get to carry more weight with shit then, right? Yeah. You can bounce more shit off of the Supreme Court because you have more weight behind it with larger numbers, because 9 is so last century, right? Yeah. It's become this over symbolized number, where it's just a 5-4 majority, and it's like, oh, that just keeps us red and blue. Well, if we expand it, we can open it up to a more liberal / conservative, progressive, non-progressive.
It's all going to be progressives. I mean, for what it looks like right now, and obviously this is total speculation and probably conspiracy theory. Call me that if you want. That's fine. But from everything that's going on, and everything that has been going on since just before the last election, it looks like Democrats are putting it together to where only they are going to be able to win elections from here on out. Now, there's been a few places that have stymied that, which obviously is good, but you see how hard they're going after those places that have done it, such as Georgia. Obviously, Georgia just did it.
Right.
Now, they were talking about, oh, it's a racist voting law. Fucking, who believes that shit? Like, who that is actually paying attention believes that shit for a half a second? Goddamn nobody, but it doesn't matter, because most people they don't see the difference. They don't see that that's actually what's happening.
Right.
That they're just looking to flip the state blue and keep it there.
Right.
Right? That's the whole point of them making the voting laws as loose as possible. Is so that they can just keep the blue guys in there all the time.
Right.
They're trying to make it to where only they will win elections from here on out. Or at least, as much as possible. And don't give me also, yeah, the Republicans do it too? Maybe, sure. But who's successful at it right now? Who's the one being successful at it?
Right.
I'm not looking at Republicans right now, at least in that not in that regard,
Right.
because they're not the ones being successful at it right now.
Right.
So, yeah, it's really fucked.
Ron Helton says, I finally went to an animal auction that I used to go to on a regular basis. Haven't been there since the end of 2019. One of the guys said he liked Biden. Who made him feel more safe. I laughed at him and walked away. Crazy people everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true. But at least, hey, they're like vegans, though. They'll let you know as soon as they can. So at least you can see them now. They'll let you know exactly who they are the moment they get a chance.
Ron Helton says, Biden wants to take our guns and let his screw-up of a son leave guns lying around in public. Right?
And lying on a federal background check about
Right.
it, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing, Ron.
But of course,
remember,
I think,
people are being told that they are going to be safe as long as the government can take guns out of certain people's hands.
right.
And that's all they're doing. If you're a good, upstanding American, you got no issues with having guns of these types.
Now, what is exactly a good, upstanding American?
Someone that doesn't modify guns. Someone that doesn't print guns. Someone that buys a gun and waits the appropriate 3 to 5 days for a background check, gets their weapon, and locks it up far away from any ammunition and anyone that could actually ever touch the gun.
Right.
And
where it can never be used except for maybe going to the range and doing some target practice.
As
or
long as
sporting
you,
rifle, or
as
hunting,
long as you
perhaps,
don't mind
hunting.
Yeah, carry it in your gun safe carrying case. Right.
While you go hunting, which you have to, by the way, have a permit for.
And you know what? To boost the
Motherfucker,
economy, we're going to require that you carry the weapon unloaded and no ammunition in the vehicle. You'll purchase that at the firing range for your weapon.
Oh my God, yo!
They should have it in stock. But we don't want you transporting ammunition of the weapon. And also, for those of you with your concealed weapon or your carry permits, we're going to ask that you not carry ammunition. You can carry the gun, but we're going to ask that you leave the ammunition at home. You can feel free to go and retrieve that should a situation arise in which you need to use the gun.
Listen. No one's saying you can't buy a gun. No one's saying you can't carry a gun. You just can't carry or buy ammunition. Oh my God, yeah, but your Second Amendment rights, right? You can own all the guns you want.
John.
You just can't own the ammunition.
John.
Yeah.
Do you know how intimidating a gun is, loaded or unloaded?
Yeah, but not if they know that most likely you don't have ammunition because you're not supposed to.
You don't. You could lie and tell them you're breaking the law.
Breaking the law.
I've got my ammunition with me. I've got the super uber expensive carry permit to have ammunition with the
Clint Eastwood,
gun.
I don't have any ammo. Do you feel lucky, punk?
Right.
Do you feel lucky? Do I do it? Do I have it? Do I not? Do you feel lucky?
I see Saint in the house. Did we
what up,
call him
Saint?
out? He said this will never
What up,
happen. He says, Quest says, even here in Brooklyn, none of my neighbors seemed enthusiastic about Biden. Mostly they just didn't like Trump. Who can be enthusiastic for Biden?
Yeah.
Apparently, Jill. Saint
I
says
doubt it. Doubt it. X to doubt.
Hey, she's still there.
Well, a little bit of money going on.
Hey,
They got kids
Hey!
together, you know what I mean? Like, you stick around
Hey!
with the kids and the money and, you know.
hey, you don't tell her how what to do when it comes to her grandpa, okay? All right. Saint says you want the book. That's how you get the book. Well, I say that, but
Let's
there
see.
are plenty of
I
things
don't
we
doubt it.
should have booked for already going back
That's right.
to the 30s.
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it happening. It's not going to happen, dude. Sorry. The boog is not going to happen. It's just, if it was going to happen, it would have already happened.
Quest says more progressives on SCOTUS equals everything the federal government wants to do will be covered by the Commerce Clause. Certainly. It's easy to wrap stuff into things. They've become masters, as I said, of doing this. Whether it's to show you that the federal government does have their thumb on all of the things that you might do, some way, shape, or form, to where they can regulate it. They will also regulate the shit out of everything that you might want to get into your hands, especially things that are far too dangerous to be in the hands of the wrong people. See, and there's the important distinction, and this is why gun legislation sells. It's because there will always be a mainstream media bad guy, a villain. And that villain is someone who shouldn't have a gun.
Right.
Because of the laws that are in place to keep guns out of the hands of people who are still going to get their hands on guns, whether it's legal or not. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I think I accidentally spoke that last part out loud.
Yeah, that wasn't supposed to be the out loud part.
I don't
because-
endorse anything I say. I'm just saying words.
No, because no one is actually able to, like, you can't. It's illegal. You can't get guns illegally. Like, you can't. What? What are you talking about? So such thing as a black market. That's a conspiracy theory. All right, because if something is illegal, you physically can't get it. Which is why, by the way, if someone's got a gun to your head, because they bought it legally and they waited the time, and they obviously, because it would be illegal to do that otherwise, they put a gun to your head, all you have to do is tell them no, and legally they can't shoot you.
Right. I don't want
so
you
you're
to
fine.
shoot.
You're safe.
I do not consent to this.
Right, and you're totally safe. That's how. I mean, obviously, that's how that works.
Yeah, no, it's Ron says the corporations who sided with being against the voting law in Georgia did not even bother to read the law. This country is in trouble. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing.
Oh no, I'm sure they did read the law.
Biden doesn't see the first 10 amendments. He's no
throw
amendment.
your gun at people.
Like he said, no amendment to the Constitution is absolute, no matter
God damn
what
it.
you might think about the Constitution.
Right.
Quest says the provision they're complaining most about relates to reducing voter intimidation. You can't approach someone on the line because you can't have any excuse to approach and intimidate. It's throw your gun at people.
Yeah, throw your gun at people.
But no, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I'm telling you, this is all pushing towards a narrative that's going to come out soon, where voting is going to become a digital commodity.
Because it's not even just voter intimidation. It's also voter persuasion. It's also me coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I got this water and this thing. Can I talk to you a moment about, my candidate, the one that I like? Who do you think you're voting for? Let me, now we started a conversation. Like, it's to stop that sort of thing.
Wait.
Hey, let me convince you to vote for this person, right? That's what it's for. Not just intimidation, which yes, it is, but it's also for like bribes. So yeah, it's about food and water. You can't do that, but you also can't go and give someone money or like slip someone money or saying, "Hey, you need a pack of cigarettes? I got you.
Right.
Just make sure you vote for this person."
Right.
When I get it for you. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
Coercion.
you can't approach people online. That's what it's about. Not like, "Oh, damn right, I'm gonna go and give water to people in voting lines." Like, fuck off, dude. Like, that's not what it's about. But that's the narrative.
Right. Elephant Man is running around too. He said he brought something up earlier on Ed's show, but wants our opinion. Is the meme about hard times making strong men really just the elimination of the weak men? About hard times
Um,
making strong men really just the elimination of the weak men? Hmm.
yeah, obviously, yeah, I think that is the case. The hard times eliminates weak men because weak men won't survive. Whether it be in a metaphorical sense or a physical sense, either way. And then obviously once we have good times, well, that enables weak men to survive. So strong men aren't as necessary, which of course, because there are no strong men or less, at least less of them, creates hard times. Like yeah, I think that's 100% true.
Um, yeah, there's argument out there that there's been an establishment effort to cull the herd, as it were, of the male pool, you know, riding the waves of feminism, and
Mm-hmm.
how things have been sold to us over the last few decades, from the male perspective, becoming a Renaissance man, becoming, more in touch with your feelings, being more aware of women, this, that, and the other, taking on more roles that women would take on,
Well, it's actually not
whatever
even
the
women
case.
anymore. Women are no, we're done with women. It's
No, no, but
black,
there's
trans,
but
disabled women of color.
but
Like it has to be
the point is
lesbian women of
if
color,
you
of course.
weaken the male society, then that means that the few that you're cultivating to be in leadership, those are the ones that have a clear path, because you've taken out a lot of the competition, as
Mm-hmm.
it were, by dehumanizing them, demoralizing them. I mean, this entire Me Too movement was so devastating to men in this country. It's not even funny. Men around the world, to be honest with you, but here in this country
Well,
mainly,
mostly the Western
the
world.
Western world, yeah,
Yeah.
but devastating. And it's just, it's, if you can cut the balls off of most of the male population, you can sit in your ivory tower a little more securely,
Maybe
because
until
you
shit.
control who's going to take over the tower, right?
Maybe until some country that has strong men come and fuck up your little weak men or your women. Like,
But I mean, and this is, I make this argument that, for us to get back on the right track, we need to have very clear lines again about the role of males and females in the population, what we should be doing for the betterment of the children who are being handed this shit show. I'm sorry, but if we're going to think long term, which we're not, we're so short sighted right now. It's like, what can we get away with during this administration before someone else comes along and changes it to fit their narrative, right?
mhm.
Um, you know, they're finding out in the military that the equivalency tests, women are not as capable as men in a lot of these situations,
Mhm.
to where they're saying, even higher female higher ups in the military are saying, no, you don't, let's not adjust the test to create an
Right.
equivalency.
Well, they already
Just if
have.
they can't meet the requirements, they don't meet it.
Like,
Whereas,
thank God that's actually
right?
someone has a voice of reason, because like they've always had, as long as they've had women in the military, they've had a lower standard for women, which is fine because they weren't allowed in combat roles, so they didn't really necessarily need to have those higher standards of physical ability. Their push-ups to pass the test, the last PT test was always less. They had to do less pull-ups, less sit-ups, whatever. All of it was less. Fine, I'm back. All of it was less, and that's always been a big fear. Is that once they say, okay, women can now do combat roles, but we're still going to keep the same standards for PT for the women. It's like you can't do that.
Right. You
You
can't
can't.
create. You can't
Because you gotta
create
be
an
able to lift that dude that's next to you.
right.
You put him on your shoulder, and you
Right.
need to run with him because he's about to die unless you can do
Right.
that.
And
His
and,
life
and
is in
guess
your
what?
hands.
Only 60% of females can do that, whereas
I wouldn't even know
90.
if I don't think it's that many.
Well, that meet the military standards,
Oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
what they're finding is that about 60% of women are able to meet the standards, versus approximately 90% of males.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So it speaks to a larger picture that we need to have something more along the lines of I don't know that caste is the right system that I'm thinking about, but where we go back to understanding that some people are smarter than others. It's not wrong to address this through proactive measures like how we educate those people, or in
Mhm.
what ways they're given the opportunity to be educated, whether it be through trade schools, et cetera, et cetera. We need to set up a system there where we say, okay, look, yes, from the standpoint of the physical aspect for this job, 60% of women are going to meet that we don't need to set a standard where we say 100%. Guess what? 100% of kids in this country are not capable of passing high school, graduating
Mhm.
high school. It's not there. You cannot say, let's set a standard where everyone graduates high school. Fuck
Right.
that. That's not plausible, because
Yeah.
the people you're graduating are graduating with, fake feathers on their back and being told, jump off this cliff and fly. And we have so many people in this country that are in the wrong, we were talking about this before, that are in the wrong place when it
Mhm.
comes to work and their job, and they don't last, and they bounce from
Yeah.
job to job because they're told they can do whatever, and they're going into things that they shouldn't be doing. We're not doing
Mhm.
anything to find these people and isolate individuals in schools and say, these are the paths you need to follow, whereas these students need to follow this path. It's
Right.
not because it's because you're different, but not in a bad way, right?
Right.
It's not because of your race, it's not because you're stupid, it's because this is how you learn and what you're capable of doing.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
going to be productive for you, and you can be successful there, and you can earn
Yeah.
a living wage.
Yeah. You might not be the next billionaire, but guess what? You're gonna have food on your table. You're gonna be able to provide shelter for your family. Your children, your wife, whatever. You know.
So
You're gonna be able to pay your bills.
your federal government is going to normalize that for everyone.
Oh, I know.
Your
But
your democratic republic is going to normalize that for everyone, to the extent that everyone is equal in each other's eyes, and
Yep.
you won't see differences, and what you do see as differences, you'll keep those to yourself, because we're all equal, because all we have to do to make everyone equal is hold everybody accountable to the same law after law after law.
it's not how it works, though.
and,
Not everyone's
right?
held accountable to the same standard. That's not what's happening. But I do, Robert. I do need to get. I need to get going though. It's
No,
about
you
that
don't.
time.
No,
No, I do.
No,
I
you
do.
don't. I was getting ready to wrap it up.
All right, just making
But
sure.
anyway, so it's a question of getting in there and doing something about it. Again, it comes down to that. But you know, I don't think it's everybody's fault where they're at. And this gun legislation that's going to go through,
Mm-hmm.
there's I don't know that there's literally anything that can be done about it.
Yeah, you better get him quick. Just saying.
So stock up on what you're allowed to have.
And then take that
and-
boating trip that you've been talking about for the last few years.
Right.
Just do it. Just take the boating trip.
And-
Maybe take
right.
some of your guns with you. That's all I'm gonna say. Just
Right. Maybe a suitcase two full of your physical
Yeah.
silver and gold, and
Yeah.
you know
Silver and
enjoy
gold and
enjoy
just,
the great
enjoy the boat
outdoors
trip.
while it still exists.
Right.
While it still exists.
No, of course you want to social distance. You want to make sure there's no one else around
Right.
when you go.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get the hell out of here. We appreciate everybody chiming in and jumping in on the conversation this evening. John needs to run away and cry like a little girl
I
for
do.
some reason. He's peeing like an old man tonight. Um, I'm 53 and I haven't peed that much. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it has to do with how much beer I've been drinking, and also had like four
Sure.
bourbons before I even
Sure.
came out of the show, then 3 beers on top of that. I've already broken the seal, man.
You're
It's
still
gonna happen, you know.
you're still using those young man excuses. I got you.
That's right.
All right, John, tell these people where they can find us in case they don't know.
Yes, all of our links are down in our description. We've got our Twitter, which is at the Gin Gap P. We have our Discord server. So if you're not in there, now's a great time to just show up in there because it's a lot of fun. Cool people are in there, cool information. You always get notifications for when we're going to go live about a half hour before. Sometimes I slack on that, but if YouTube decides not to give the notification, you've got a better chance of getting it on Discord. If you prefer Gilded over Discord, you can go over there. All of our Freedom Scoop guys are over there. So if you like them instead of us, or them as well as us, you can go over there and check out our Gilded server. And we've also got Subscribestar. So if you like us especially, and you want to hand us some money, that's a great way to do it because you're not just giving us money, you get perks. You get something in return. So that's pretty sweet. So make sure you go and check out the different tiers, see which one you like, and sign up. We'd greatly appreciate it.
That was beautiful, John.
I know.
I hope they can find us. If you can't find us after that, I don't know. Hey, again, much love and appreciation for everyone showing up tonight. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. We are going to get the hell out of here. We will be back again potentially, I believe, Monday night. We'll have our fill in the gap, hopefully. I know I was absent last Monday. It's John's fault. I blame John. But we'll be back at 9:30 p.m. on Monday for that one. We'll also be back on Wednesday for Shooting the Shit at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday. I will not be present for next Friday's show, so stay tuned to what John has to say out there on Discord, Twitter, etc., etc. Hopefully, he can find it in his heart to put on a show.
Pay more attention to John. I agree.
Drag somebody in, to do a show right before Ed goes live with his 24-hour stream, raising money for suicide awareness. Definitely check that out as well over there at Red and Ed. Is that if I remember correctly, the Red and Ed
The
show?
channel is J. Edgar. But yeah, the Red and Ed show is his Monday night show.
Oh, okay. We'll maybe he'll be here on Friday for that at 8:30 p.m. at our normal time. Those times are all in the Eastern time zone, not to be confused with the rest of the time zones out there, the posers that you are. Yeah, right. See, John agrees. But much love and appreciation again. One more time. That's 3 times. You can't get better than 3 times getting love and appreciation from me. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't withhold. I'm just not that giving. We're gonna get the hell out of here. We'll see you again next time around. Y'all have a good night. Peace out.
Yep. See you guys.
The war will begin.